Well, good afternoon. My name is Larry Johnson. I'm Senior Vice President of Pacific Northern. We're a jewelry display company based here in Carrollton, Texas. So on behalf of all of us and the 5,000 employees of Pacific Northern, we want to welcome you to our home state and to our hometown. The goal of what we're going to talk about today is to attempt to give you some suggestions and ideas pertaining to how you can improve the way your store is decorated for the upcoming holiday season. The timing works very good for this show, and for this show being themed around the idea of getting ready for the holiday season, because there's still enough time to try a couple of different ideas and to fine-tune the way that your store is organized in an effort to make it as effective as you can going forward in making the most of this upcoming holiday selling season. So let me tell you what we're going to cover today. As I said, my name is Larry Johnson. My co-presenter today is Howard Gurock. Howard is the president of Econolite, and typically in the past when I've done these seminars and I have found people that are interested in how to improve their store, lighting ends up being a major factor. So we've incorporated Howard into this, and he'll be talking to you near the end of this presentation today. So as I was saying before, holiday sales obviously are vital to the success of a retail jewelry operation. Getting your store prepared and getting it ready to take advantage of the holiday season is an important factor. But what I'd like to do, as far as how do you go about actually organizing your store for the holiday season, I can't tell you in the conversations that I have with many different retailers how many don't actually go into the holiday season with a selling plan. It's very important, particularly in this day and age, that you have some type of intention, that there is some thought as to what you're trying to accomplish. And it isn't enough to just say, well, we want to sell a whole lot, or we want to sell a whole lot of that. Nowadays, with the wide availability of specific sales data from all of the different POS systems that give you perfect information about what's going on in your store, you actually have a lot of data. If you can carve out the time to really sit and go through it, you have a real opportunity to go through that data and find out specifically what's working in each case, what is selling, what's not selling, at what price point it's selling, and be able to put together a plan that allows your efforts for this upcoming holiday season to be more successful. So setting aside some realistic goals, setting aside realistic timetables, those are key to being able to decide where we're going. Obviously, the old adage is if you don't know where you're going, any road you take will get you there. The goal here is to have a written plan, premeditated, that you've thought through, an intention, a desire to accomplish or to move to a specific point, so that when the end of the year comes along, you're able to take advantage of the opportunities that are out there. I can tell you, your competitors are doing this. Certainly the large chain stores are doing this. Certainly a lot of the large firms that are selling online or selling on people like QVC or Home Shopping are doing this. So in order to be successful, you have to have a plan. It's important, additionally, that we get started immediately. We don't really have a lot of time to waste. This is September. If you find items here that you want to buy, or you find display techniques here that you want to try to implement in your store, you still have time to take those techniques and take them home, try them out in the store during the month of September and October, organize the showcases perhaps a little differently than how they were organized before, and track and test the results. You're going to hear me say this a couple of times. It's unbelievably important that you keep some type of records as to what goes on when you make different changes in your store. I'm a strong believer that you should take photographs of the showcases every month. On the first of the month, you grab your digital camera, you walk around and you shoot photographs of what each showcase looks like. Then, when you go back and you look at your sales results for July and you see that you had a pretty good bump in your sales of pearls, I think it's advantageous to be able to go back and look at what did the pearl case look like at that time. What were people looking at that prompted that sale? And having records instead of having to rely on your memory is very important. So tracking the results, looking at what you're trying, having a plan, I'm attempting to do this, then implementing a step. virtually everything we're going to talk about today is reversible. It's not a permanent change to the way your store is organized. You can go back the other way. So you try something new, but for goodness sakes, you don't try something new without keeping very clear, copious notes on how successful that is or is not. And then you'll know whether to do it again or never to do it again. So let's talk about 10 steps that we think would move us towards being more successful this year. Step number 1 is incorporating signage inside the showcase discreetly and subtly to guide the customer and influence their decisions. I'm amazed by how many times we assume people will understand something without having really just given it to them very blatantly by a sign that says this is a great idea for a holiday gift purchase. We can't assume that the customer realizes or puts 2 and 2 together that, you know, that might make a very good gift idea for my mother, for my wife, for whomever. I think it's important that we tell them that that's the case. And nowadays, with the different types of signage that's available to us, it's very easy to do that. If you have a problem and can't do that, you can get them for free on my website. You go to pndisplay.com. There's an area on there that has info center and their signage templates. You can scroll down and there are all of the a little templates, a Word document, that you can go in and type whatever you want the sign to say, print it on your laser printer in your store on some paper you buy from Office Depot or someone, or on white paper, and then trim it around the dotted lines, and you have a nice customized sign to go in your showcases. So telling people what it is you want them to hear is very important. A little sign like this, the perfect gift for her, certainly accomplishes that. You want to choose your words wisely. You want it to be simple. You want it to be less is more. You don't need to communicate the Gettysburg Address on here. You just need to give them enough information for them to make an informed decision. If you find that the way that you sell is a technical sale, if you find that you prefer to sell by talking at length about the characteristics of the stone, then put that information there. But I can tell you, in much the same way that some of you are looking at this monitor while I'm talking, if I say something to you and it's also up there, it's being imprinted twice in your mind, as opposed to this not being there and you just having to listen. So when you're making a sales presentation in your store and you're telling someone some major attribute of this particular piece of merchandise, if there is a sign that communicates the same merchandise, it's imprinted twice, and we have a better chance of the customer believing it and understanding it. Signage that promotes other services that you offer, gift wrapping or gift cards or sizing or diamond trade-ins or appraisals. These types of signs, all too often, people don't realize you offer those kind of services in the store. If there's a small sign inside the showcase that promotes this, you have a better chance of people remembering it. Something that here's your homework assignment. When you get in your home next time, listen and tune in to QVC or tune into Home Shopping. And you can buy something if you'd like. I have a feeling you probably don't need anything from them. But if you dial into that and you take a piece of paper and you write down just the adjectives, just the descriptive words that they use, they've become masters at that, and they have terminology and descriptive words that are beyond nice and pretty. They're words that really conjure up emotion and conjure up much more feeling in the adjectives that they use. They're words like brilliant, and there are other words that really go further to communicate a selling benefit than just, isn't this a nice ring? So write those adjectives down, and when you come across one that you're comfortable with and you're able to incorporate it smoothly into your sales presentation, use it 3 times in the sales presentation. Use the word handmade a couple of times in your sales presentation. Odds are virtually everything in your store was handmade. But all too often people don't communicate to the customer, this ring was handmade. Doesn't necessarily mean it was handmade by you, unless that's the case, but it's a handmade item, and most people perceive handmade as being superior to whatever the alternative is. If you're going to incorporate signs, I would avoid signs that are confusing to people, such as this sign which sells boneless smoked ham, which is delicious for Hanukkah. So, number 2, I would urge you to consider decorating the inside of the store and not the inside of the showcases. What we find, typically the inside of the showcases are already somewhat confusing. There's a lot going on in there. And when you fill that showcase with ornaments and bows and ribbon and shiny things, it simply makes the merchandise get harder and harder to differentiate. You can certainly communicate a strong holiday message by decorating the store more than actually decorating inside the showcases. You can put up the trees or whatever other symbolism for the holiday that you're wanting to promote. You can put those up in there, but my recommendation is to avoid having, in this case, rose petals in a showcase distract from the merchandise. Or in a case like this where there's so much going on, you lose the jewelry in the process. The goal of this, the goal of any, repeat it, the goal of any jewelry display is to sell the merchandise. All that matters is, does it sell the merchandise? If it's pretty, that's nice, but did it sell the merchandise? And when we do a display like this, which is colorful and certainly a winter fairyland, we end up with a nice looking window display, but I don't know that we actually sell the merchandise off of a window like this. In addition, I would want to mention to you, you want to stay away from using props in your showcase that are shiny or that are similar in color to the merchandise. If you use a gold foil, take Christmas for a moment, a gold foil Christmas ornament in your showcase, the foil that is on that Christmas ornament is shinier and more reflective than the gold that's in your merchandise in the jewelry in the case. So consequently, your merchandise comes off looking second best by comparison. If you're, for this, I was struck by this photo of the pearls with the pearlescent ornaments in the background. It just conflicts with it. And what we want is we want the brilliance of the merchandise to stand out. Never use shiny trim. If you're insistent upon putting shiny trim in your showcase, you can go to the art supply store and get a matte spray. 3M sells it, and you can spray it onto something like these little glass beads, and it will take the shine off of them. The only thing you want shining inside the showcase is the jewelry that's for sale. Idea number 3, do something very dramatic, very strong, and very powerful at the front door, and I would extend that a step further and say if you have windows, at your windows in the store. The idea is that we want to draw people in, we want to create that first impression, and we want people to come inside the store. We want to set the holiday theme right from the beginning. Large wreaths of some kind, obviously this type of a large decor piece speaks volumes about drawing attention to the store. I'm back with windows again that are really designed more to just create a festive look, or wrapping your entire building in a bow if somehow that strikes your fancy. But the idea here is to say that we understand there's a holiday upon us and we have merchandise inside that will help you accomplish your gift objectives for the fall. Let's talk a moment about gift suggestions inside the showcase. And this is really ancillary to the point I made about having the signage in the case that communicates the major selling points of the merchandise. I think it's very advantageous to put a piece of merchandise every 18 to 24 inches inside the showcase that is a suggested gift purchase idea for that category. Repeat that again. So in a given showcase, if that showcase has colored stones in it, I'd like for there to be, every 18 to 24 inches, I'd like there to be a piece that you would recommend someone would want to consider buying as a gift. Now, before, when we're choosing what that is, in a way you think of it as kind of a greatest hits of the showcase, but let's make sure when we pick that we pick the right piece of merchandise. If, like I said, from your POS system or from writing it down, or if you don't have that, just from your gut sense, you have a certain idea of what your average ticket is on each and every one of your showcases. If you have Edge or if you have one of those systems, you can get it right down to the penny. But if you don't have that, you know that in coming out of this case right here, my average sale is $275. If that's the case and we're going to promote something, let's don't promote something for $199. Let's promote something that is a little higher, and my recommendation is about 20% higher. If people on average, the way the showcase is set up now, are paying, whatever I said, $300, $299 for this item, that's our common ticket out of this, then all we have to do is move it up. And if we can elevate the average ticket in every case by 20%, we elevate the sales of the entire store by 20%. We've talked it sometimes, and we were talking in my booth a few moments ago with some folks asking about, should we show prices on everything? It depends upon the merchandising strategy that you're using in your store. I'm not a big fan of pricing every single item in the showcase. What I am a big fan of is pricing selected pieces that are perceived as having a very high value. If I walk in your store, I look down in the showcase, and I'm looking for a gift for my wife for Christmas, and I have a budget of $1,000. I look down inside of there, I pick out a piece, and I ask you how much it is, and you tell me that it's $2,000. I have two choices at that point in time. I can either make up my mind that you're a very expensive store because I've appraised that as being within my price range of $1,000. Or I can say, you know, I really don't know very much about what jewelry is worth, and I probably shouldn't be in here shopping because I'll make some really stupid mistake. Neither of those scenarios is conducive to people spending money, either when they think they're in a place that's too expensive, or secondly, when they think they don't know what they're doing. If we can put price points in selected areas of the showcase, periodically through the case, that communicate the price ranges of given items, we solve that problem all the way around. Now I know what neighborhood I'm in, and I don't run the risk of wasting your time and mine both. Better than that, if I have a price point on this particular pair of earrings, and this particular pair of earrings look like a heck of a deal at the price that you've outlined for them, then my perception of your store is that you have really good prices. I don't have to perceive that you have the cheapest prices in the city, but that you have really good prices. It's not unlike when a new grocery store moves into town and people go shopping there and they price out 3 or 4 items and they see that the prices on milk and eggs and bread are competitive, and they decide, you know, this store has good values. That's what we're trying to communicate. So when you're shopping here at the show or in preparation for the holiday season, you want to be looking for items that when you look at what you would sell them for, look like a heck of a deal. And you want to put a price on those items in your showcase. Because now when someone walks in and they appraise it, as I did with my $1,000 purchase that turned out to be $2,000, when I look in the showcase and I see this item and I say, boy, that looks like a heck of a deal at $899, now all of a sudden my perception is the whole store has good values. So showing prices on items that are particularly good value is advantageous, and doing it on items that raise your overall ticket is that much smarter. Running a really good price on something, selling it and not having a replacement for it is kind of shooting yourself in the foot. If we're going to have a good item every 18 to 24 inches, be prepared for replacing that sale when you sell it. Have something to go in its place so that you can move it forward. And again, what you see here recurring throughout this is the idea of intention, the idea of premeditation, the idea of looking at your showcases and having a plan in mind of here's what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm not just casting it to the wind and hoping for the best. I've actually looked at every single case. I've thought through what I'm trying to do. I've looked at my selection. I've looked at my sales history so I know what's going on, and I'm implementing the plan that you put together in September. Obviously, there are display companies, ourselves and others, who have displays like this that are season's greetings on one side and Happy Valentine's Day on the other, and you know, where you can incorporate different signage. I'm amazed when we travel around at how many people make their holiday decorations exclusive. I think it's very important that you celebrate all the customers and the potential customers that are in your store. So consequently, you're going to want there to be Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. You want all of these holidays addressed. Put yourself forward a little bit. We have the election coming up in the second week or the 8th or something of November. Holiday starting, shopping season's going to begin a week or so later in earnest. Regardless of how the election turns out, I think there are going to be a lot of people looking for unity, looking for oneness, looking for all of the name calling and all of the other stuff to stop. You're going to be having people looking for the holiday spirit of unity and good fellowship. I think it's important that your store address not only customers you have that are celebrating Hanukkah, whether there's some type of a menorah or something else in your store that celebrates that, Kwanzaa. I was talking to a couple of the young ladies who work for our company who are Chinese Americans. Chinese New Year happens in January, but they're out shopping at Christmas time looking for looking for Chinese New Year gifts for their friends. So let's address all of these because all of these customers are interested in being your customer. Idea number 6, a special holiday loop on your plasma. I was talking to some folks earlier today who were telling me how we were discussing what needed to go in the wall cases in their store. And wall cases are a real challenge because nothing really sells very well out of wall cases unless it's a wall case that people can walk right up to. And we talked about putting a loop or a plasma screen in that space and running a promotional video on that plasma screen that promoted what's inside the showcases. That's where the money is. And having that loop, by a loop I mean a series of slides, having that on a plasma screen promoting the various things that you want your customer to know about your store turns that back wall area into a selling vehicle that's advantageous for your store. What do you put on it? You can put gift suggestions by category, diamonds, pearls, watches, different categories, items in the store that you would suggest they consider as an option for that category. You can put 10 gift ideas under $100. You can promote the fact that you have holiday gift cards or free gift wrapping. A great idea would be to promote 5 gift ideas for the man in your life or 5 gift ideas for the young adult in your life. But by constantly running that on the video screen, you're going to have a better chance of communicating because it's really nothing more than a movable sign. Take all the points that you would communicate on a sign and incorporate those into a plasma screen. I'm happy to say we found some people. If you don't have time to do that, come see me after this is over. A company that is putting together personalized slideshows for $99 a month. You sign a contract, they talk to you on the phone, they get a bunch of images from you, and then you get, for $99 a month, every month you get a new flash drive, put it into the side of your television, run it, and the next month you get another one. So if you don't have time to put your own slideshow together, they're not that hard to do, then have someone outside produce it for you. Idea number 7. Change up your holiday decor for the home stretch. What does he mean by that? What I mean is if you put out all of your holiday decor, you put out all your holiday messaging, and you do all of that the 10th of November, by the time about the middle of December rolls around, that stuff's been out there for a month and a half and you're probably getting pretty tired of it. And if you have repeat customers, they may in fact be getting very tired of it. My recommendation to you is on or about the middle of the second week in December, make some changes to the way the decor looks. Because your customer who's coming in that last week before Christmas is a different customer than the customer who came in shopping early on November 15th. You've been in your store before on New Year's Eve or the last shopping day before Christmas, and people don't have time to come back. They've got to pull the trigger right then. There is a most definite difference in the mindset between a shopper who's shopping November 15th and the shopper who's shopping on December 20th. The mindset is different, the urgency is different, your inventory is different, and they're probably tired of looking, and maybe their budget is not what it was before. So maybe we need to look at changing the content of what's in the showcase because the mindset of the customer has changed. Idea number 8. One of the things I was happy to see that the Smart Show people did that was very smart is they put together a holiday gift wrapping area over in the center area. If you haven't been over there, it's worth going to see. It's in the middle part, the holiday gift ideas, and there are shopping bags there from a couple of different vendors. There are examples of the gift wrap and bags that some of the cool stores from the cool store that you've seen in our magazine have done. Having a different holiday specific gift wrap makes a lot of sense. And there are different firms that sell creative types of packaging that you might want to consider using just for the holiday season to, again, to further communicate the special nature of all of that. Idea number 9, I'm just going to reinforce something I went off on a few moments ago in the beginning, and that's the importance of keeping records. The importance of keeping visual records of what your showcase looks like, what your window look like, and also keeping sales records. If you take photographs of exactly how the store looked on a regularly scheduled basis, and now with digital cameras it's very easy, file those away, and when you're ready to start looking at what you're going to do next holiday, you can look at what you did the previous holiday and how do you want to change it up. What'd you do last Mother's Day? Consequently, what are you going to do a little different on this Mother's Day? By tracking the results and keeping records of this, it's very advantageous to be able to go back and look at historically what did it look like and what kind of results did we get, because if we don't do that, we miss the opportunities to enhance those things that worked, and we run the risk of doing once again the things that did not work. I said, how did the showcases look? What sold well? What didn't sell well? What kind of customer comments and complaints did I hear? What props and trim did I use? And very importantly, what did my competitors do? Some type of a journal, some type of a record will help you learn so that you can improve on the next year. Idea number 10 talks to the issue of holiday lighting. I'm constantly being asked questions about holiday lighting and how best to light my showcases, and I realize that it's a very complicated subject. And as they say, if you don't have the answer, then you just need to know somebody who does. I'm going to introduce you now to Howard Gurock. He has the answers. Howard, come right ahead.
The holiday time is your time of the year to really sell. And while September is time to fix the store, October is getting tight, November, bridal windows, December, likely bulbs, you really should be thinking about changing your lighting now. And there's a few reasons. Number one, I can just tell you from our experience, we start getting busier every single week, starting now, going towards December. And some of our lead times are normally a day or two. By October, November, they're sometimes up to 2 weeks. So don't wait until the last second, because you might find yourself redoing your lighting December 24th, and that's too late. So again, plan ahead. Now, okay. If you had to pick one area of the store to focus the lighting on for the holidays, in my opinion, that would be the bridal cases. Studies have shown that more engagement rings are sold in the months of November and December than all the other months, not combined, but all the other months. And if those bridal cases don't look up to par, you're losing out on the time of year when you're going to make the sales the best. Now, the bridal cases need to have very bright white light. They should stand out from everything else. When the customers come in, they're mostly sit-down cases. They need to have great lighting inside and great lighting above. So don't just focus on the inside, focus on everything. This fixture you see here, that is what's called a stem light. We would use that for like a tower display or something that's a little bit thinner. This is an example of an LED. LED is the buzz. It's probably going to be the buzz in lighting for years to come, unless someone invents some new technology that's cheaper, more powerful. But I would say LEDs are here for many, many years to come. Now, there's all different types of LEDs, and there's all different Kelvin temperatures and color temperatures and confusing information. There's tape LED and rope LED and fluorescent tube LED and custom-made LEDs, and it can really be overwhelming. The first thing you have to think of is, what are you selling? If you're selling mainly diamonds, you want something that's a very white color that will make them sparkle. You want to bring out the brilliance and scintillation. It has to be noticed. And this Kelvin temperature, that has to do with the temperature scale, lighting scale. And the higher you go, the whiter and then bluer the color. And the lower you go, it starts to get from white to orange until you hit red. People always talk about, well, I want to have a daylight light. That's, this term, daylight. Daylight is actually in the northern hemisphere at noontime. If you were to measure it, measured at 5,500 degrees. That is blue. So if someone's selling you a daylight light, the color that's going to come out is blue. If you have a blue light in your bridal area, this is what's going to happen. I use this word, what is the move that most women make the second they try on a ring? Ready? Right? That's the move. How long is their hand going to stay there if it looks like there's no blood circulating through it? Not very long, because they want to feel beautiful looking at it. If you've got one of those lights that are 5,500 or 6,000 or 6,500 degrees Kelvin, the person's hand is going to look like it's a cadaver wearing an engagement ring. So be careful when you hear these words, natural daylight. We'd like something that is what's called a pure white or white, which is between 4,000 and 5,000. In that range. And you're going to avoid those blue tones, everything's going to sparkle, and you're going to look healthy, or someone's going to look healthy when they put their hand up. Now, we talked about matching the color, quality, and power of the in-case units. Again, a lot of lighting companies promote, I've got the most powerful, I've got the most powerful. That's really not what you should be looking at. Anyone can make a really powerful light for inside a case. All I've got to do is get more powerful diodes and a more powerful power source, and I can make the ones that I manufacture 3 times as powerful. But here's the problem. If the lighting inside the showcase is so powerful that when you take it out, it doesn't look as good, you just killed the sale. Without a doubt. So be careful of, I'm not bad enough with other companies that just want to promote selling the light without understanding they're not helping you. You want everything to blend. You want it to match. You want the overhead lighting color and the color of the light inside the case to match. You wouldn't want to have a 3,000 Kelvin warm halogen light above and a 6,500 degree LED inside because you have this blue exotic look inside, and you take it out and it looks yellow. Sale's gone. Or you've got a nice white light inside and you take it out and then you got that blue color. Sale is gone. It has to be consistent. Now, in terms of ceiling height, LEDs are great. Every 6 months they seem to be getting a little more powerful. For ceilings these days up to about 10 feet, we can light using an LED without any real problems. We'll get the right coverage. If anyone's going to promote that they could light from 12 feet because they've got the most super powerful, greatest LED, what they're selling you is something that is actually overpowered. It'd be like using a car battery for your watch, to just burn it out and blow it up. So be very careful of someone who says, I have a 15-foot ceiling, I can light it with an LED light from there. They can't, or if they can, you'll be buying a new one in 6 months. In very high ceilings, ceramic metal halide, that was all the buzz 7 years ago. That was the latest, greatest, newest technology. Now it feels like a candle because LEDs came out. But metal halides are still a great option in a higher ceiling where you need extra power. Dazzle them. Your window displays. If people aren't going to notice your store from walking outside of it, you lose a potential customer. And there's 2 different things you have to consider. Are you inside of a mall or are you on a sidewalk, on a street? If you're on a street, you have to compete with daylight, with the sun. And quite often when the sun comes in, it comes in very intensely, and it actually hurts the merchandise, especially in window displays. So when you've got a situation where you've got your window right on the sidewalk with the sun baking in, some people say, oh, no problem. I'm just going to put up that black film or that dark film. I'll stop the sun from coming in. You're doing something else and making everyone think you're closed. That's what happened. We actually just had a jewelry store out in Palo Alto, the Silicon Valley. And the owner said, I've got the greatest concentration of wealth within 3 miles of my store, and no one comes in. I said, we were talking about it. He sent me a picture. I said, it looks like it's closed. And that's one of the problems with putting the film on the window is people, if they don't see light there, they're going to just assume it's closed. So be careful if you're going to use film. If you're going to use it, don't use the one that's so dark that you have that issue. But if you do have to use film, then what you need to do is have some light that shines literally an inch or two next to it shining down so that, again, people can see light that's inside. If you don't have a situation where you need the film, your window displays will need 2 times the amount of light to offset the power of the sun than you would over a case that's inside. So just remember, your window displays, that's what people notice first. They walk past the store, they look in, and if you've arranged it properly based on what Larry just told you to do, you want it to get noticed, you want things to sparkle. If you don't have enough light, it's not going to have the right look. Because again, sunlight has to be considered in your plan. Now here's an example, came up good, of a poorly lit window and a properly lit window. If you look on the one on the left, it's probably on my competitor's light, I would think. You can see everything looks dull. There's nothing that catches your attention. If you look at the picture on the right, you can see everything is vibrant. It comes out, you can see everything is clear. There's just a huge difference. So again, with those windows, make them a little bit more powerful, make them pop. LEDs are great for the windows because normally we're only looking at maybe 3 or 4 feet that the light has to travel as opposed to a 10 or 12 foot ceiling. Going back to the temperature again. There's a rule of thumb that you light for diamonds and everything else will survive. If you light for everything else, your diamonds will die. So in terms of Kelvin temperature, gold looks great under a warm color, 3,000 Kelvin. Silver and colored stones probably look the best under a 4, and diamonds look the best between 4 and 5. So if you wanted to set a case up, let's say you had a row of cases, and you had a 5,000 Kelvin, and a 3,000, and a 4,000, and a 5,000, what happens is when people come in, if they do look up at the ceiling, which a lot of people will say to us, I'm very concerned with how it's, how many holes are going to be in the ceiling. We always say if the customers are spending their time in your store staring at the ceiling and not the merchandise, you've got a lot of problems that have nothing to do with lighting. But here's the problem. If you have a cool color and a warm color and a cool color and a warm color, human nature, we're all attracted to the brightest light. That warm light could be brand new, but it'll look like there's something wrong. It'll look defective. It'll look like it's out. And people might avoid going into that case because it looks different. Where human nature is, we don't like different. We don't think, things that don't look right. Okay? So remember, if you're going to have an entire row of cases, use one color for the entire row so that people don't avoid one. If you have different areas in the store, like a watch area that's separate, then that's different. You can use, a less powerful, less intense light. Or if you have a gold area that's in a corner that's separate, you can use a warmer color light. But anytime you have a linear, you want to have one consistent light. Warranty. LEDs are, it's the new frontier. It used to be with metal halides, there were only a few companies that made them. Mine was one of them. Now with LEDs, you can buy them anywhere. They have, light bulbs, etc., LED.com, LED World. And everyone has, different things at different prices. Rule of thumb, if the price sounds too good to be true, you're probably getting something cheap. Make sure that with your LEDs, for any overhead LED, you're getting a warranty of at least 3 years. You'd like 5, but at least 3 years. If someone's only going to warrant it for 1 or 2, there's a really good chance it's going to die either on a year and a day or 2 years and a day if it even makes it. Also, make sure that the company you're buying it from, who has a 1 or 2 year warranty, is going to be there in a year or 2. Because a lot of companies go and they buy an LED from China. They don't even know what color it is, if it's good. And, good luck getting the warranty to be honored. Here's an example of a high quality and a low quality LED at 100 hours and at 1,000 hours. This is what happens when you have something that's an inexpensive LED that uses a cheap power source and a cheap diode and doesn't have what's called correct heat sinking. It just degrades. And we've had this because we have customers who call us and say, I bought a light, an LED 2 years ago, and now it's giving off this horrible blue color I can barely see, and the company won't honor the warranty because their response was, well, it's still working. Yeah, they're right, it's still working, but what's it doing? Nothing. It's going to go in the garbage. Why should you or shouldn't you buy LEDs from a Home Depot or a Lowe's? If you're going to put it in your kitchen and you're going to use it for 2 or 3 hours a day, that's fine. If you're going to buy an LED from a home improvement store and you're going to have it on 10, 12 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week, it's not going to last. If you actually look at the boxes of these lights and you look at the warranties, they'll say 50,000 hours. And then right below there, they'll say 22 years. And then it'll say based on 2 to 3 hours of use a day. The ones you get at these home improvement stores are made for residential purposes, not for commercial. So again, if you're going to buy something for your kitchen, that's great. If you're going to buy something for your store, just be careful because you might spend half the price there, but in a year or two you're going to have to buy it again and it's going to end up costing you more in the long run. So we're in booth 1312.
We are. We'll answer any questions.
We'll answer any questions.